You spoke about de-escalation on the scene just before. Can you explain why it's important?
Well, again, I think this conference, the World Policy Conference in Abu Dhabi, is an opportunity really for us to speak about our concerns within the international system, and within that, of course, our concerns in the region. So I think our region today suffers from vacuums and suffers from too many crises. And I think both of these issues mean that we have to collectively understand that there is a necessity to de-escalate, the necessity to understand that some of the problems will remain with us for a long time, but to allow us to manage these problems rather than that they go out of control and we pay a very heavy price for the coming period. So as you look at the region today, there are several issues that are prolonged issues, long-term issues. And the world is coming out of COVID, and there is a reprioritization of what economies and societies need to do. So it is extremely important to keep our focus on these bigger issues and at the same time manage some of the other issues, Iran or the Israeli-Palestinian issue, etc. I think this requires also dialogue. So de-escalation requires confidence-building measures. It requires dialogue. It requires understanding, for example, that we cannot allow a vacuum to appear in a place like Afghanistan, or we will be in a very difficult place that we were before. So I thought that our discussion today was a chance to focus on this concept, which we see really not as a concept, but we see as a fact of life every day here.
Dialogue is important to understand how others think and to...
Extremely. I think communication and dialogue. I mean, again, if you look at the Abrahamic Accords, the Abrahamic Accords are clearly born out of an understanding that decades of not talking to each other has not really resolved anything. And as a result, the UAE understands that the two countries that can help the Palestinians most are Egypt and Jordan, Arab countries that have relations with Israel. And the UAE understands these dynamics. It doesn't happen overnight because you communicate with people, you dialogue with them, but only when you build trust are you able to reach certain let's say, understandings or core conclusions. I can never change a country's perception of its national interest, but I can invite that country to cooperate with me in, let's say, a multi-regional project that will help, in economic projects that will help, in understanding that I have my point of view, but will not allow that point of view to reach a point of impact and confrontation. I think these are all important things. And this is really what the UAE is concentrating on with its view for the coming decade.